world. The convener is, of course, Icon Enterprise Foundation. This is a monthly family dialogue concept that is a brainchild of Icon Enterprise Foundation. We envision resilient, peaceful, and thriving families. I'm going to be introducing the panelists soon. We've tried to balance between, a generation that is much older than the people we're trying to target, and also people our age, 23 right now. So we've gotten people our age who are going to be sharing a few things when it comes to youth career.
Good afternoon, everyone. We seem to be having issues with connectivity. We've suddenly lost Tande, our core moderator, and Jemima. Please bear with us. Sorry about that.
Good afternoon, everybody. So as we wait on Jemima, we're going to be introducing our very outstanding panelists. We tried to mix everything up this time because we wanted to get the best picture. We wanted to get young families also. The people we're trying to target are youth. So we try to get young entrepreneurs who have kind of tried to make a living in these COVID-19 times. So our first panelists are going to be Janet and Andrew Bugembe. Janet and Andrew Bugembe are the founders of the mentorship class. So many of the young people, I'm particularly excited about the mentoring class because I've heard about it so many times with very many young people that have interacted with people, people younger than me that have come to know over the years. So I am really, really excited about Janet and Andrew. Janet is a banker by profession, an entrepreneur and a trainer in financial literacy and leadership. Andrew, her husband, is a graduate of electrical engineering law. He's a tax consultant and an expert in business development and marketing. These guys, I call them guys because, you know, they are kind of our age, started the mentoring class, and they've inspired lots of young men and women to, you know, realize their dreams by concentrating on what they're passionate about. Jemima, my co-host, is finally here, so she's going to be taking us through the rest of the time. Yes. Nice to see you, Andrew. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Yes.
I apologize for being late, everyone. Technical difficulties. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much, Jason. Tande, my co-host. I'm so excited to be here and to be able to hear from everyone. My name is Jemima Wabomuno. I'm the Communications Associate of ICON and the co-host of the of this. Of course, before we start, I'm sure we've gone through everything. Tande has given you a brief introduction of every single person. And without further ado, I'd love to hear from Janet and Andrew Bugembe. They have some things prepared for us. Very, very excited to hear from them, of course. As the youth, basically, if Tande hasn't already told you, ICON works around, of course, families, most especially young families, such as Janet and Andrew's. And I'm so excited to be able to hear from them. Without further ado, Janet and Andrew.
Okay, hello everybody. I hope we are loud and clear. Kindly,
Yes, you are.
Jemima, kindly, oh, okay, fantastic. First of all, we are very honored and privileged to be sharing with you our journey today. And of course, we would like to thank everybody who has put this together. Thank you so much for inviting us. So this is Janet and Andrew Bugembe. Like they have mentioned, I'm a banker by profession, but I'm a businesswoman. And I started my business career 15 years ago. I was still at the university. Together with Andrew. Andrew is a graduate of electrical engineering. He's done a postgraduate diploma in taxation and has just completed a degree in law. So we are married. We've been married for the last 9 years, and we have a daughter by the names of Irene. So that's a little bit about us. I don't know whether our host can allow us to share our screen. Our presentation today is just a story. We are just here to share with you our story and our journey of where we are coming from, who we are, what we do, and how we work together as a family, and how we can be, you know, of help to the youth out there who are listening in. So if you can allow us to share our screen, then we can kick off immediately.
No problem. I'll make sure that is available for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, there you are.
Okay. So I think you can now see the screen.
Yeah, so just a little bit about ourselves. This being a family dialogue, we just wanted to just share with you that we met a few years back. That is, I think, one of the first pictures that I took with Janet when we were still courting. So, and over the time, we were able to finally be blessed, and we got married in 2011. And like Janet has said, God has blessed us with a wonderful daughter. And we give thanks to God for that. Another thing that Janet has also quickly mentioned is that we have actually also been working together for the last probably 15 years in different business ventures. One of the things we do is we did much earlier on, and we still do, is we bring in very high quality, non-toxic soap. We also have products to do with agriculture. But today, we just want to talk about our corporate social responsibility program, which has brought us together and has helped us even work more together as husband and wife.
Okay, so Andrea and I, a few years ago, I think to be more precise, 4 years ago, we started up what we call the mentorship class. This is our CSR program, and the mentorship class is a program that uses the transformative power of mentoring to nurture and groom the next generation of African leaders and entrepreneurs. And our target is young people between the ages of 18 to 30. And we take them on for a period of about 6 months where we expose them to people who are in life where they want to be. And some of our objectives, we want to help the youth identify their purpose, their dreams and goals, as well as work on how to achieve them, okay? So one of the things that you're going to hear a lot about the mentorship class is everybody who has been through this class has a dream chart. They are very clear of their goals and what they want to achieve. We also expose the youth to an exclusive style of work, creativity, and innovation to enable them impact the society in a positive way. So anybody who has been through the class, we expect that wherever they go, they make a positive difference in the lives of others. They stand out, they don't fit in. We also get successful people in the country into mentoring the next generation of young leaders. We have guest speakers who come on board, share their stories so that the young people can identify and also know, what these people did so that they can also do better and they can be able to become successful. We also instill a culture of integrity, ethical leadership, and financial awareness in the youth. And those are our objectives. And how do we do it? We have more like a core curriculum. There are certain things that we take mentees through, one of them being self-awareness. We take them through a journey of self-awareness, self-discovery. They get to learn their temperaments, their working styles, love languages, and, a little bit about the details. We take them through the journey of self-discovery.
And I think one of the things that is very key prior to having a very well settled family is the fact that when two individuals come together, they should be aware of who they are first in order for them to become aware of the other person. Because I think one of the huge challenges we have found, especially among the younger people, as we have mentored them over the last few years, is that in addition to them not knowing where they would fit in as far as career-wise is concerned, because even when you're going to go through a career kind of journey, if you're going to become an engineer, there's something about your temperament and you being an engineer that has to be connected. Yeah, you, for example, won't find many engineers being sanguine. Sanguine is one of the temperaments out there. It reflects, it talks about someone who is very happy, very joyous. They love partying. Now, a young person going onto this journey, on whatever career path they have chosen, if their career path is not in line with their temperament, oftentimes they either get bored or they get discouraged, they get demotivated along the way as they try to move along that path. So one very serious thing that we really work with as we start out in the class is that whole self-awareness bit. And it's very important as young people for us to have, to be aware of who we are, to know what we are, to know the things that make us. Yeah, why? Because those are the things that are eventually going to guide us, not only in as far as our careers are concerned, but also in as far as our family life is concerned. When Jack and I met, we were not even aware of what our temperaments were, only to realize that she was the person who liked partying. I didn't like partying. She's the extrovert, I'm the introvert. She's the one who talks a lot more than I do. And at one point, her over talking used to irritate me, and my over keeping quiet used to irritate her. So at the end of the day, the moment we became aware of each other and we were able to know who each of us were, and we were able to come to terms with who the other person is, and the other person is able to come to terms with who you are. So that's why self-awareness is very, very important.
Okay, then maybe the other thing that I would like to add is we take our mentees through a journey of personal development. And this is how I would describe personal development: the books that you read and the kind of people that you associate with. I'm told that we are an average of the 5 people we spend most of our time with. So that is why it is very, very important for us as young people to get, engaged, to have forums like this that help us to sharpen our soul, that help us to, associate with people who are in life where we want to be. So one of the things that we do is we usually get some, let's say, some books that we study together. The last class, we managed to complete the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and also Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So this journey to personal development is very, very important, especially on our career choices, because it helps us to, sharpen our soul and discover who we are and whether we can be in position to manage whatever tasks are given, ahead of us.
And also to become mindful of where we are going, perhaps, because no one is going to come and sit down and tell you that these are the lawyers that are on market right now. This is the trend that is happening right now. This is the kind of doctor you have to become. And all those things influence our careers. So really personal development is to help you learn how to get information for yourself, not to wait for the lecturer or the teacher or your father or mother to come in and tell you, go and read that, or you look out this in the newspaper. It gives you the hunger to go out there and look out for information that is going to affect you as far as your career is concerned.
Okay. And in line with today's topic, how family influences our career choices. Through our mentorship program, we've realized that there are so many young people who come and join the program when they have been greatly influenced by their parents, their peers. For example, Andrew, for him to do electrical engineering, it was the in thing to do at the school. I mean, if you wanted to demonstrate that you were very sharp in class, there are certain combinations that you had to do, like PCBM. There are certain courses that you had to do, like electrical engineering, law, and
if you did agriculture, people would laugh at you.
People would laugh at you if you did agriculture. Some people who did music, dance, and drama, those are some of the career choices that many of us are really, really struggling with. Sometimes you do something and by virtue of the fact that you were not interested in it, or you were trying to please your parents, guess what? You cannot go ahead with it. So I'm glad that today's topic, we are going to be dwelling on that. And I'm glad that we have people who are much older than us Some of them are parents, and they're going to give us some very, very good guidance on that. So we've realized that many of these mentees come when they're confused. So we really take them through a journey of career development. We bring on board people who have done so well, who have climbed up the corporate ladder, others who have done so well in business, others who have really been to some of the best universities all around the world, to come and share with them so that they can give them that kind of guidance. Then the other thing that we do, business development, one of the things that we teach is entrepreneurship. And this is simply the way to go, because as we speak right now, the streets are full of jobless graduates. So if you do not have entrepreneur thinking, even at the workplace when you're employed, you've got to go in ready to think like an entrepreneur, think like the owner of the business. So those are some of the things that we take them through. At the end of our 6-month program, everyone must come up with a business plan, something that they can start working on practically. The other thing that we do is leadership development. We are training, we are nurturing and grooming the next generation of African leaders and entrepreneurs. So some of the things that we need to sharpen are our leadership skills. And here we bring on board people who have been able to, do well in their leadership positions. And of course, we take them through a journey of attitude, working in teams, and things like that. So life skills, we also learn about life skills, the basics generally.
Yeah, but what we have found, and this is very much in line with ICON's objective of ensuring that we have better families coming up. I think one of the things, and to anyone that is listening out there, one of the things that is greatly, I would say, is a challenge among our young people today is the fact that they are not aware of how to handle relationships, for example. And yet, most of them are interested. I mean, you won't imagine, but the most attended sessions at the class, at the mentorship class, are relationship sessions. You can only imagine. They have so much hunger for this information and knowledge, and they are seeking for guidance. And sometimes, even us as parents, are not that are not available, but we are shy to talk about these things, or we usually want to have someone else do the talking for us. But as far as family is concerned, it's very important that every young person, at least when they get to about 18, 16, something to do with relationships is really talked about, because what eventually happens is that we begin to know holes, we begin to make mistakes that are regrettable, that are life mistakes in as far as that is concerned. So today, in as far as Jemima, are we still on track?
Yes, you are. I'll have some questions lined up for you after we first finish.
Right. If we digress, kindly alert us.
Most
Okay.
definitely.
All right.
Okay, so in line with today's topic, how family influences, our family influence on career choices, we felt it's very, very important to start off, us sharing with our wheel of life. And we are going to do this very briefly and also share with you how we've been able to go through this season where everybody seems like they are crumbling through the pandemic. People have lost jobs. People have had to adjust. I mean, our daughter had to adjust to online classes. So that meant that we had to stay home some days so that we can be able to supervise, help her log in and get used. So one of the things that we are going to talk about today very candidly is having to balance family, faith, finances, our health, career, businesses, our friends, stock relationships. We do all this while having fun and also growing as individuals. And one of the case studies, I just like the fact that we were invited to speak on this particular forum. Reason being, Andrew and I work together. And this simply means that whenever we go out to hustle, we are hustling together. And yet we have to get back home and be, as a family, and spend time as a family. So many people ask us, how do you manage to balance that? I mean, you sit in the same office, sometimes come home in the same car, then we are at home, we spend most of the time together. So one of the things that I want us to tell us is for you to cope with all the challenges that, are coming around during this season, you need to be ready to stick together. This is something that the youth would not like to hear, because it kind of gets boring and things like that. But I will tell you that if you work together, if you stick together, if you look out for people who are in line with your goals and your dreams and your aspirations, you'll realize that it's going to be very, very easy for you to cope. One of the things that we did different during this COVID period, and we teach the mentorship class, is you need to have 8 sources of income, okay? And of course, as business people, we realized that we needed to do something. We were glad that we started our business a little bit earlier, but then also we have plenty of land. So we started a bit of farming, because we were in total lockdown. We could not move. So instead of complaining about the government, the president, blaming the Chinese for inventing COVID and all those kinds of things, we needed to start thinking, okay? We needed to start thinking of doing things differently. We were running this mentorship program. Of course, we had the physical meetings, but we had to start online classes immediately. And we had a successful grand finale at the end of the 6 months that was virtual. It was one of its kind, and it was attended by close to about 5,000 people all over the world in one night. So we had to adjust. And I know Andre is going to talk about adjusting and adaptability. And this is something that is very inevitable, because right now, for things to change, you actually have to change, and you have to change your attitude. You have to change your, outlook of life. You have to change the way you're doing things, because if you keep on doing the same things, it will be total insanity to expect different results.
Yeah, Janet has said something about COVID and in regards to these times, but in regards to the theme of today, family influence on career choices. When I look back, when you look at actually the theme, family influence on career choices, it's a yes and no. Why? Because it's good for you to have some form of influence over you in as far as a more experienced person is concerned in choosing your career. But again, also, the person that is influencing you to take on that career should give you enough space for you to decide. So influencing is okay, but where the influencing goes beyond and it gets to, where the influencing goes beyond and it gets to decision making, yeah? Someone should not come and tell me, Andrew, you should become a lawyer, and gives me all the advantages, and then goes ahead and forces me to actually become a lawyer. It doesn't make sense, because then even when I go ahead and I become a lawyer, if I didn't have the passion, I didn't have mainly the passion, I'll not be able to sustain that career path I've been able to take. So I think as parents and as friends, when it comes to career choices, we should encourage our young people to go out and explore. Irene, our daughter, is exploring everything from farming. When she goes to a salon and she wants to be there for some time, watching the lady who is tying the hair, she's free. Why? Because I think when you expose and allow people to explore different options, eventually they'll settle down to something that they're passionate about. They'll settle down to something that they are ready to go after in as far as skills are concerned. And eventually, if that thing rhymes with the fact that it can make money for them, then I believe that is a career path that someone would have taken. I was very excited. Yesterday I had the time, because I love farming. I visited a gentleman's farm in Semuto there. Interestingly, he's a doctor, but he's retiring at about 46. Why? Because He feels he has really served, and he's excited about the fact that he has been able to serve in government and everything has moved on as he wanted. But he feels like for the rest of his life now, beginning from the age of 46, he wants to do something that he loves to wake up and do, that he's passionate about. So he's organizing a very interesting concept of farming there in Semuto in as far as is concerned. And he's passionate about it. You could, as I spoke to him, you could feel the passion. So family influence on career choices. The people who have the right to influence other people should influence them only to the point where they allow them to make a decision of their own and to guide them in a way that they are able to eventually pick up those things that they're passionate about, expose them. If you really want to influence your child to take on a certain career path, put them there, let them be exposed, let them visit a law firm, let them do some sales, let them do, I mean, whatever it is, let them be exposed to the people that are in that field so that they begin to get the idea of how it is or what happens in that particular field. So that's how I would really round off that with. So then I don't know if you have anything to, but
maybe just the last thing before Jemima comes through to maybe ask us some questions if she wishes. I just like to talk about purpose, because many of the young people out there have not yet identified their purpose. And now, what do you need to do to identify your purpose? One, you need to find out what are you good at? What is your skill set in terms of skills? What have you studied? You know how to do very, very well, okay? Then the second thing that you're going to do is look at your passion. What are you passionate about? If things went south, what is it that you're going to hold on to? Then the third thing that you're going to look at is what drives your economic engine. Yes, you've got the skill set, you have the passion, but can you make money out of it? So the intersection of the three things is going to be your purpose. That's the reason you are going to, work. You're going to wake up to work every single morning. So I would like to encourage all the youth out there, please identify your purpose, because if you don't, you are going to be swayed left, right, and center. Many of us will make choices because our parents said so, because your friend, or you were following the bandwagon. So I felt I needed to highlight that. So over to you, Jemima.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Janet and Andrew, for giving us that beautiful overview. I'm astounded, honestly. I don't even have any questions left because you basically covered everything in detail. However, I do want to know, you did mention so much about obviously how family plays a part, but now as individuals that have gone through your own process of personal development and career planning, and now obviously as a couple, Janet, I would love to know, how has it been for you as a young wife navigating, planning, what it looked like before when you were an individual and now in a partnership with someone?
Okay.
that was Janet's question.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I think what Jemima wants to know is, how do you manage to balance all these things? You are running a mentorship program, you are having a very successful business, you are a wife, you are a mother, you have all these responsibilities all over the place. And yes, I will tell you that I believe in the Bible. The good book that I believe in says that to whom much is given, much is expected. So I embrace that. And with that knowledge, I will say that I have learned how to prioritize. You will not find me many times hanging out, doing certain things. Why? Because I've learned that when I have God, the next thing is family. The next thing is maybe business, so I've learned how to prioritize. The other little things that I'll tell you that I have been doing and doing very well is I've learned how to organize myself. I have a diary. I write my to-do list. I make an annual plan. I make quarterly plans. I make weekly plans. I make a plan on a daily basis. So basically, I will not be in a position where I have forgotten an appointment, I have forgotten to meet a client, I have forgotten about the meeting. Why? Because everything is written down, and at the end of the day, I tick off, tick off, tick off, tick off. So it's a matter of getting organized, putting yourself together, write down all your responsibilities and set your priorities, because you can't be doing everything. I can't be hanging out with girls who are not married because maybe their priorities are different, you know? So I probably have to make time, and my free time, spend time with Irene, take her to the PlayStation and things like that. So all of us have different priorities. So the moment you identify all the things that you're supposed to do, write them down, get yourself organized, and see how you can be able to accomplish all these things. And just like I've said, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Indeed.
Jemima, you know, it takes two to tango, eh?
Yes,
Jemima,
definitely.
it takes two to tango. So I just want to add this on behalf of Janet, especially for the guys that are here listening in right now. I think the other thing that a lot of the young people need right now, as especially the newly wedded, is the fact that especially the guys, they should be open to counseling. They should be open to counseling. I think marital counseling is one of the most important steps in life, not just in the journey to marriage. It's one of the most important steps in life, because when you enter this thing they call marriage, and you have a very ambitious lady like Janet besides you, oftentimes the guy tends to, you know what, this is just too much for me, because it becomes like a whole competition within the whole place. And sometimes the gentleman needs to be guided and needs to be counseled to realize that this family is one unit. It's not two units.
Yeah.
It's one unit. Where Andrew is, Janet is representing. Where Janet is, Andrew is representing. So it's that kind of mindset. But oftentimes it's not as easy as it is said. It takes a whole mindset shift for someone to come up to that kind of thinking, and for them to be able to appreciate. Because guys, whether we like it or not, a lot of effort has been put into empower the girl child, which is very good. I'm very appreciative of that, and I thank God for that. But as guys, you also need to step up in a way that you need to become more understanding and more appreciative, and look at this thing they call marriage and family as a unit, not as individuals.
Thank you so much, Andrew. You know, it's funny that you gave the last word right there, because actually our next panelist is also a young man. And of course, as Icon, we love to holistically make sure that we pay attention to every stakeholder in a family, of course. And a very quintessential part of that is the young man, and getting to know, of course, what it's like, and recommendations for both boys and men on the come up and growing. I just want to make sure that, you know, other people get a chance to properly ask their questions moving forward. We know we have a young man on the panel, of course, we have a young lady on the panel, I beg your pardon. And with everything going on, of course, I just want to make sure that other people get a chance to ask questions, all this good stuff. I beg your pardon, I did say the next panelist, forgive me. The next panelist is actually a young lady. So thank you very much, Andrew and Janet. We'll make sure that the audience gets a chance to ask their questions in the later segment. Thank you for covering everything. Our next panelist is a Ugandan feminist currently pursuing a Bachelor of Governance and International Relations at Uganda Christian University. Lisa Kanyomozi is a content creator, a blogger, a feminist vlogger, and the Conversations with Kanyomozi. She's a radio presenter, passionate about using communication to change narratives, and hosts a late night show as well as a Sunday afternoon show that gives women a platform to be women. She's the country head of Girl Talk Uganda, a program under Choose Yourself that curates conversations for communities to learn, unlearn, and relearn together, as well as create a sisterhood between women from all over the world. She also works with Hub for Her, which does work in higher learning institutions on awareness of issues related to sexual harassment, as well as policy making in those institutions. Lisa is a business owner of Oponire, a store dealing in Afrocentric pieces. Lisa loves to learn, meet new people, and lives by the quote, "Your silence will not protect you." Lisa, you are most welcome. I'd love for you to unmute your mic if you have not already, and would love to hear you and see your face. Definitely, this is such a strong start. As Andrew said, a lot of focus has been given to the girl child in terms of investment, but on the side of having live examples of people to look up to, I think you are doing that very well. And I would love you to tell the people, the audience we have today, what you do, a little more about what you do, and how it has been as a young woman, a student, and a new entrepreneur in a pandemic such as this. Welcome, Lisa.
Okay. Hi, hello everyone. I'm glad to be here. I'm so humbled to have this opportunity to speak to everyone who's listening in. I think the couple before me did an amazing job. When you asked me what do I do, Janama, you like said everything. So yes, I'm a student of Government and International Relations. That's the first thing that I do at Uganda Christian University. I am a radio presenter. I do a show called The View. It's on Next Radio 106.1. That's just my first show ever. And it really just gives a platform to women away from the mainstream idea of what women talk about. We want to change the narrative and open up different conversations, but as well as give women a platform that is alternative to what mainstream media gives them. I do a late night show called The Next Situationship. That's 8 to midnight. And I'm tired a lot of the time because of that. I do work with Girl Talk. It's an organization, it's a program under Choose Yourself, which is an organization based in Maine, USA, but it does a lot of its work in Africa. So Girl Talk creates conversations, curates conversations, and creates a community, a sisterhood between different women. And we like to unpack and learn a lot of feminist theories and the likes. I work with Hub for Her, which does conversations awareness and also policymaking for universities around sexual harassment and sexual assault. I think I've said everything. Oh, and my baby. I'm wearing over knee there. It's my recent multi-mission project. It's 2 months and 3 weeks old. Yes, I'm like a mom. And yes, so we do Afrocentric accessories. We started off with head wraps. This is something that I do personally, and then we're getting into jewelry very, very soon. How has it been for me as a young student and entrepreneur and all these other things? I think personally I hate uncertainty, and that's what the pandemic brought for me. So there was definitely a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, because I had taken 2 gap years prior to me getting into university. And when I got into university, which was last year, this happened. So I did not necessarily complete my first year of university. So that was difficult for me as a student. I'm happy, however, that it's back on track. So that's fine. The pandemic helped me create alternative ways. I think I was very comfortable prior to the pandemic. I was like, everything will work out. Everything will be fine eventually. We'll be good. And then my income was threatened with the finances going low at work. I do work around social media influencing, emceeing, and so on. But we couldn't have any events per se. We couldn't have any events because COVID times. So that means I didn't have money, and for me, that's where the business idea came from. I needed money. So I could start a business. I'm a saver, so happily I had something a little left in my savings account, and I was like, it's either I'm going to use this to sustain my life or start a business and take a risk, which I decided to do. And I think that has been a very good decision. I'm quite proud that I did that. So there was fear, there was anxiety, there was uncertainty. There were a lot of tears, definitely. I'm tired a lot of the time, but the pandemic has just been eye-opening for me, very insightful, and has caused me to like think outside of the box that I had put myself in. Yeah.
Wow. And I love the fact that you've been honest with us. This is a lot of the emotions that everyone at your age is feeling right now, is fear, anxiety, confusion, uncertainty, whether or not you like that. But you're still taking a step and saying, you know what, I'm going to take this risk. I'm going to listen to mentorship around me. I'm going to go forward. Of course, this has helped you in your entrepreneurial endeavor, but you're not just an entrepreneur, you are a daughter of someone. You play a part in your family as well. And as you already know, Icon is very family centric, you know, and as someone who's part of a family and with all these goals and all these inspirations, how has your family influenced your career planning or even development as a person, as an entrepreneur? How has that played a role?
Okay, so I'm the firstborn of an African household. So that means my dad had a preset idea of what he wanted himself to be, because he had invested so much money in ensuring that I get good education. So ideally, my dad wanted me to be a lawyer. He says, but you're always talking, you're always talking and you read a lot. So why don't you just be a lawyer? And for the longest time, I thought that's what I wanted to do. And thankfully, that was the school that I went to, Kavoja. When you get to year 11, you're able to do internship. And I think that was very important for me to open the way and see what I actually want to do. So around the same time, during school, I used to do newsletters and I used to MC a few events. And I was like, oh, this media thing is not so bad. You know, I like this. Also because I like attention, which is something you get to the media. But I managed to secure 10 internships during my year 11 summer. And I went to a law firm first, an uncle's law firm, and I understood what was going on. Again, I do work around human rights. So I was like, oh, I would major in this. And I was trying to convince myself that law is the way, but also because law made them happy. So let me force myself to do this. But I know after I finished that internship, I was like, save money. I understand what I'm doing. I might be happy on some days, but on a lot of the days, I'm going to dread walking into that office. And then I did my media internship. There was no money. And but there was so much fulfillment. Like and it was easy. Like I wasn't stressing. I did my internship at Vision Group, and I was working under Swag, which is a teen magazine pull out. And it was easy to write the stories. It was easy to plan the layout. It was easy to edit people's stories. It was something I was enjoying. So I was coming to work earlier than I should. I was leaving later than I should, but I was so happy. I was genuinely full of joy. So, and when I told my parents that, my mom, guys, thank God for moms. We thank the Lord for moms. Moms are blessing. My mom is very, do what makes you happy. So, but for my dad, because he had a certain vision, a certain plan for my life, he felt like I had betrayed him, for lack of a better word. Like, but Wally, you said you were going to be a lawyer. I was like, Daddy presented with new information. Woo, my head dropped this one. Presented with new information. I don't think that's what will make me happy anymore. I would prefer to do this. And we had a back and forth. It was difficult. I know there was a time when we both were not talking to each other because it was a power struggle. I have faced. And then we met in the middle because then I started doing work with human rights, and then I did my course in government and international relations, but continued to do media as well. And I feel like eventually he got used to the idea and he warmed around. So yes, so my mom was very instrumental in helping me convince my father that this is the decision she has made, and we'll be supporting her basically. That was so yes. So being able and also I won't leave out the fact that my parents are very liberal, so they were very open to me trying out multiple things. Certain parents may not necessarily give their children the chance to do that and all the freedom to do that, because that meant I was 16, year 11. So that meant how many parents are going to say, oh, you know, I think I can just go do work or go to a whole other town to get stories. So them being liberal in my choices and also supporting me when the time came was something that I'm very grateful for and I didn't take for granted. When it comes to me finding, because the work that I do is a lot of feminist work, and that means a lot of my views are very controversial. Yes, a lot of my views are very controversial to the African setting or to a religious setting, and I have very African and religious parents. So my parents giving me room to share and speak was also very important for me to build my confidence, but also they're open saying, okay, yeah, we never looked at it like this, so we are learning from you as well. So that affirmation coming from home motivates me to go outside and do the work, if that makes any sense. And finally, when it comes to business, my parents are both in business. So I had, even when I had this conversation, I think last week, I've never thought of sitting and having a desk job because my parents work on their own hours, and that's the type of home that I've gone into. So it was very easy for me to learn business-oriented skills, business-oriented information, because I saw it firsthand with my parents, and for both of them, I worked for them, of course without payment, on certain things. And yeah, so that's how they have helped me develop my career and helped me in my class as well.
That's a pretty wholesome story. I love that you also made sure you articulated that, okay, well, your parents both had different views in how you went about what you want. Obviously, they want you to succeed, especially being the firstborn and being their very first investment, but also how, like you said, growing up in a certain household influenced your ability to take on certain tasks, but you're still an individual and you still had certain passion, and you didn't necessarily just go with law because your dad wanted to. And so, of course, there are other youth within the country that may also similarly have liberal parents or may have conservative parents nonetheless, but still these conversations with parents on what their parents' vision of what they imagine they want to do versus their own vision of what they want to do and how they're going to go about tackling it, especially if, in your case, you had a chance to see firsthand through an internship, through the house that you grew up in, you got a chance to see what that would look like. Other people might not. So what recommendation would you have for youth in terms of these conversations with your parents, especially if they have different views compared to you, but also taking a stand and recognizing what you want and trying to apply that into everything else?
Well, recommendations. I think it would be, I hope my internet hasn't jumped off, but I think it would be one, figure out what you want. One thing that my dad did that really annoyed the life out of me when it was happening. But at a later date, I realized, oh, that makes a lot of sense. But when I chose to do media and when I chose to do my degree in government and international relations, he would keep poking or teasing or questioning my decision. And that in itself helped me create firmer arguments. So eventually he wasn't able to contest me because I knew exactly what I want. I remember when we're going between law and media, because I wanted to do my degree in journalism. And he's like, absolutely not. I am not going to pay for a journalism degree. And I was like, well, I'm not studying law either. So what are we going to do here? So then I looked at other courses that I might be interested in, and I chose government and international relations. Let me tell you, I had to go and research what job, a whole presentation before I brought it to him. Like I had a whole notebook ready for every answer for every question he would give me, and I had a good answer, and then we agreed in that moment. So figure out what you want and be certain and be sure, because if you're going to contest your parents, you have to hold water. The second thing is have conversations. I know they're hard, but especially depending on your family dynamics, I know they're hard, but if you have these conversations, it's easier for both of you to understand each other. I think if you're able to get parents who will understand you, thankfully, yes. If you're not, at least you put your point across, I guess. I think that makes sense. Then the third recommendation would be, I don't have a plan B. Like, I was reading a book and it finally cemented that for me. Like, I do not have a plan B. When I'm choosing my career path, this is it. So I'm going to give it 101%. I'm not going to say, oh, because my degree is something else, I'm going to choose that. Nope, I will do that work alongside my media, but I want to be the best in the field that I have chosen to be in. And it is essential for me to not have a plan B, because then I will allow myself to fail at plan A. And yeah, I think those are the three things that I think move me. And also make it a passion. Finally, make it a passion. Like, do something that you will love. Don't do something based on, oh, law makes money, or law is a, and no shame on lawyers, guys, do law, fun, do that. But don't do something based on societal influence. Do something that you know you will genuinely be happy with, no matter what. Like, even if I wake up in the morning and my job doesn't even give me 1K, I will be happy that I'm doing this work, and I'll aim to be my very best. I knew I would do law and I'd be good at it, but I would never want to aim to be the best in the field, because it's not something that I had any passion for. I'll just do it to collect a check. I'll fill in whatever I need to fill in. I'll answer to whoever I must answer to, but I would never try to be the best in that field. And for me, choosing media meant I'm going to be the best. It's always me looking at who's the competition, what are they doing, better, how can I learn more? And yeah, so that's my final one.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I know you do so much more. You wear many hats, but you've actually perfectly segmented the two other panelists that we have. You know, you've really just solidified everything that Icon is about, honestly. Thriving families, of course, and conversations surrounding around that. Of course, youth and women empowerment, and of course, education. We love that. Education never stops. You always learn. And so I don't want to take away from the questions. I don't want to take away from Lovely. I don't want to take away from the questions that people might have, of course, especially surrounding the work that you do with human rights, of course, and entrepreneurship. So I'll allow that for the next segment. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And we'll be moving on and transitioning to the next panelist. Thank you so much, Lisa. Our next panelist, you're welcome. Our next panelist is a young man. You know, just like Andrew is, he's a young man who is the founder of Elevate UG, Uganda, an advertising agency whose primary objective is to help small and start-up-sized businesses effectively communicate their ideas. Jason Chigozie is a current fourth-year Makerere University student, majoring in software engineering, and is passionate about design, and is also a part-time professional UI designer. I would love to welcome Jason Chigozie to the panel. Jason, are you there? Please unmute yourself, and would love to see you if you are.
Hi, Jemima, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Jason. I believe there's a small echo. I'm not sure how or why. But
I'd connected both my laptop and phone, but I think let me just use my phone.
I see. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jason. Thank you. We're so happy to have you here, especially as someone who's going to be representing the boy child. Of course, this is a big worry of Andrew's. The girl child is represented.
I'm happy to be
here. But of course, you're here representing, you know, the other aspect that, you know, Icon is all about. Definitely the young man is one of the stakeholders in a family, and definitely in society as well. I would love to see him thrive. And so without further ado, I just want you to let a little bit more about who you are and how you came to do what you do specifically, your passion story, if you must.
Okay. I'll just follow the outline I have here. What do you do? Most people tell you that, or if you ask about me, most people tell you he's a graphics designer, he makes logos. If you need a poster, he'll make that for you. And generally, that's how people have come to know me. Even when I did start Elevate, still was like that designer who started a company doing advertising and all that. But what I do see, what I feel that I do is that I help businesses. It's my passion to help businesses communicate the ideas. People have so much to say and don't put it out right most times. So what I feel that I do is to help businesses or brands, if I should say, effectively communicate the ideas. And that's my life's mission. How has it been as a young person, student, and entrepreneur in the pandemic? Well, it's been a rough journey and a good one. Thanks to the pandemic, I started Elevate. Before that, I was a freelance designer doing work for several people. But then as the pandemic came, you get most people no longer need the services. They're trying to save on money. They're trying to do other things. So it hit me. Let me start something. In fact, it's what actually I started in January, but it wasn't so serious until when the pandemic actually hit. So let me start something. Let me get a band, a group of like-minded people, and let's do great stuff. So it was a challenge in the beginning, starting it up, trying to stop advertising yourself as an individual, but as a company at the whole. The company has no money, so you find you are financing most of everything the company does. And the beginning was a bit difficult. We need a website, we need to promote advertisements on Facebook and Instagram and all of that. But it wasn't easy, but it's the best thing I feel I've done my entire life. And I'm so glad that we did it. And I think we're 6 months down the road from when we officially began. Things are really starting to take shape. And it was difficult to start, but I just did. And when I just did, things just started to fall in line. And I'm very glad that I did that. So challenge was starting and being able to get customers and all of that on board. But the fact that I just started, slowly by slowly, I've been able to get small wins, if I should say, some success. So I'm happy that I did that. How have my choices made my life easier? I would say I have more financial freedom thanks to starting a company and doing stuff on my own. So yes, starting a company was the best thing that I've done, and I'm happy that it's there and it's in place, and we're helping businesses. We're changing businesses, if I should say,
Definitely.
effectively communicate their ideas. So before I go on further to the family, the aspects.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to talk more what Elevate is about.
Okay.
Yes, it's an advertising agency, but as you mentioned, we are trying to help small businesses, medium-scale businesses, and startups effectively communicate their ideas. And where this came from was the fact that most of these companies and startups want good work. They want to have really nice, good-looking work and really good-looking communications. But they feel that, okay, most people feel financially constrained to have that work because they would think that if I need good work, I have to probably pay an agency $10,000 to have something like that done. And what can fit in my budget is probably someone on Nasa Road who's handling hundreds of clients and probably won't give you his best. So we try to find a way to fit that need. That these guys are there, they have brilliant ideas, they have lovely businesses, they have all of this, but they're struggling to communicate what they do and what they have to offer because of financial constraints. So the whole aspect of Elevate was to come in, identify the problem. Let's note that somewhere, I'm going to come back to that. So that was the problem identified, and that's what we're trying to solve as Elevate. Offer these guys brilliant communications, and that at not so agency or international agency price. So they're able to effectively communicate the ideas, drive more sales, and inevitably grow the economy, if I should say. So on the next question, my family influenced my career planning and development. Well, this is an interesting question. My family is split. My dad is a music professional and a doctor in music, and my mom is a doctor in engineering. So from the get-go, when I started talking careers, I've had split identities. My mom is engineering side. In fact, actually, what I did study was in A level was sciences. I did PEM because I was more drawn to the engineering side, but the artistic side of me has always still been very strong in me. From the moment I play piano, by the way. From the moment my dad introduced me to the piano, and I picked up a pencil to draw pictures in art class and all of that, I've always had a really strong artistic side. At the same time, I've had an engineering mind. So this has really led to a yin-yang situation in my career planning and development. So in the end, let me just summarize to the end. I found a way to do both. I'm studying software engineering in Makerere, 4th year, but then again, I'm passionate about design, and my family backgrounds have pushed me in a direction where I can be able to accommodate both. So the UI design, which you talked about, is in full user interface design. And basically what that is have you ever downloaded an app and it looks really great? Well, there's a reason it looks really great, because someone designed it before the developer went on to implement the code. So I found a way to still compass my design and my engineering aspects to be able to become a professional UI designer. So yes, UI design involves knowing how to design, but you also need to have a background of the engineering that works with how the software works. So I've been able to find that balance in my career planning and development. Well, what seems to be working well, I'd say going out for this, as I said, has so far worked out quite well. But being young and old, that's really where the networking well aspect comes in, because you'll come across let's say a client, and the first thing they'll say is, "Oh, you look so young. How do we know what you do is okay?" Or because you look so young, why do you want a lot of money, or stuff like that. So starting the business was great, but we do constantly come across those challenges where you are despised because of your age, and people think you cannot deliver because of your age, and you're constantly, even before you pitch or you deliver the work, you're already in a biased situation, because people are wondering, will you be able to deliver what you say you're going to do? People think young people take your money today, unavailable tomorrow. So basically, what the main change has been is with that. And I just want to let all rich people and investors and business owners out there that the way this economy is going, it's in about 10 years, it's going to be dominated by the youth, and there are going to be so many of us out there. And I feel you shouldn't despise what someone can offer based on their age. I feel you should give someone the opportunity based on what they can do, and if they're able to deliver it. So my as I talk about my challenges, my statement would be that yes, most our reputation is preceded. Most youth in the past have been shady and all of that, but people are trying to make opportunities for themselves. People are trying to do better. People are trying to add value to the world. So most of us who are trying to do that are actually young people. So we should be given the opportunities to show you what we can do. So in terms of challenges, that's what I've been able to come across. I've had so many situations where people are like, "You're too young. Why are you asking for all this money?" Or people try to exploit you because of your age and feel that this guy will do that work for 50K. That kind of situation. So I feel that is changing. And most of us who are coming up are young guys, and we're trying to do things right. We're trying to add value. We're trying to change the face of the economy. So yes, in terms of what's been working well and what's been not working well is business is coming in slowly because of the digital age. The fact that most people now need to have a digital presence to be ahead due to the circumstances, that has worked well for us. But the not working well bit is being despised because of your age, and that leading you to be judged that you're unable to provide the service, or you're automatically biased that you're not going to deliver. So yes, what can fellow youth obtain on the next steps despite daunting times? Well, when I looked at this question, I thought about what I was going to say, and I realized that I had it all along. At Elevate, we have a framework, or I would say a process on how we handle our clients' work when it comes in, and it is an acronym called DIVE. So let's dive in. So I'd say for the youth is 1D, define. And under define, what I'm trying to say is, who am I? What do I love? What am I good at? What comes easy to me? So in my situation, I didn't think I'd end up as a designer. I probably thought I'd be an astronaut in like P1. Then around S6, thought I'd be an engineer. But how I ended up in design is in S6 VAC. I used to design posters for these VAC parties and stuff, and it came so easy to me. And from that, all of this has grown, has expounded to what I am now. So I'd say first find out who you are. What do you love doing? And what comes easy to you? So that's the first aspect, define. Then identify. After you have found out what comes easy to you, try to see how that can add value to the world, and inform yourself more on that which you love. If you're good at photography, you can add value to the world in so many ways. You can capture people's moments and on all that. So you should be able to go to YouTube, look at photography tutorials, look at the people who are killing it in photography. How can you be as good as them, or try to do what they do? And once you've been able to identify that and know, okay, photography isn't so hard. I have an artistic mind. I see the shots coming, and I now have the techniques that I can use. I have an idea. Then you can go ahead to say, this is how I'm going to add value to the world. I'm going to be a documentary photographer. I'm going to capture moments for people struggling and show them to the world and see how that can change or impact their lives. So once you've identified or going through the identity process, if I should say, sorry, let me put that back up. Then you visualize it. You've identified now, what could I be? Well, for example, I usually like to say to our clients, what does success look like to you? Usually it used to be the stereotype question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And people would say, I see this, but these days don't need to take 5 years. So I'd ask you, what does success look like to you? And as an individual, what does success look like to you? So as a photographer, I'd say, I see myself photographing UN projects across Africa and all that. So once you've been able to visualize where you want to be and where you want to go, and the last part of our framework is elevate, dive in for elevate. So in this case, it would just be, just go for it, man. Just try it, just begin, just start and see how that goes. If it fails, go back to the drawing board, see what you can do. So that's our process. And I feel that can actually help the youth in trying to find out what they can do and how they can add value to the world. So dive, define, identify, visualize, then elevate. So the most important part to that is the elevation bit. Yes, it ties in with our company, but just do it. You're never going to start if you keep saying, I don't feel the timing is right. Oh, let me first finish this. Oh, let me first do this. Just go for it. Just dive in, if I should say. So that's what I can give the youth in terms of them trying to identify the next steps in these daunting times. My recommendations for the youth in career planning and development, it's the exact same message as I said previously.
Perfect.
Find what you're good at, or what comes easy to you, or what you have passion about. Sometimes what you're passionate about, you may not be necessarily good at, but you can be able to improve your skills in that section. Sometimes what comes easy to you, if you're lucky, can make you money instantly. So see what you're good at, get your passion. If the latter is true, see how to improve yourself, inform yourself as much as possible. Even up to now, I'm still doing courses on how to handle brand strategy, how to improve my logo presentation process. It's a continuous thing. So keep taking in as much as you can, and then just go for it, man. Just try. You want to start that Rolex joint, open it up. You want to start the clothing business, that hairstyle thing, just go for it. You never know how that goes. As long as you feel that you add value to the world, do it. So my recommendations for the youth in that is just go for it. Just dive in, if I should say.
Dive, DIVE. Thank you so much, Jason. I love that, the whole acronym and everything. And we're definitely going to be diving in. I will allow people to have their questions later on. We have one more panelist. You've literally encompassed everything. I personally don't have any questions. It doesn't mean that everybody else does not. So I shall allow them to be able to drop their nuggets at the end. Thank you so much, Jason. Those were amazing gems. I don't even know how to speak anymore. I felt like you were speaking to me as a youth.
Thank you.
I am compelled to dive into everything that I do. Thanks, Jason. Wow. The best thing about learning,
You're welcome.
Is that you can never do enough of it. There's always room to grow, and our panelists thus far have been forthcoming, and of course we shall maintain that narrative with yet another expert in the field of teaching and mentoring youth. Moving on to our next panelist. Thank you, Jason. Moving on to our next panelist, a wife, mother of four grown-up children, and a proud grandmother. Our next panelist is Miss Naomi Lumuntege. Having relocated to the UK in 1989, she has been teaching in Kent in the UK for 22 years. And during that time, she has established international partnerships between schools in Kent with China, USA, and Africa, and led group visits for the past 6 years. Ms. Rumuntege is passionate about education, economic development in Africa, and the role of the church in society. She has also been involved in setting up several NGOs focusing on supporting the girl child and women empowerment, but most importantly, of course, being an example as a parent and a loving one at that. Ms. Rumuntege, you are most welcome to the panel. We are so happy to have you here with us, and we can't wait to hear from you. You have a presentation for us, so I'm so excited, and I'll let you go off in a minute, but the floor is yours, Ms. Rumuntege. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you just wave to confirm that you can hear me?
Yes, definitely. I can.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you everyone for having me. There is always a risk in going last, but I'll focus on the positives. So I have been introduced to, you know roughly who I am. Just to reinforce the fact that I was born and raised in Uganda. I went to school in, I went to a small rural school in my village in what is now called Bulambuli district. Otherwise it used to be Bugisu. I am currently the executive director for an organization I co-founded, which is HARS, which stands for Higher Education Resource Services East Africa. As you have been told, my trade is teaching. I have taught economics for, it was 22 then, now 24 years. I have also done a lot of work with the church, and I served for 11 years as a member of the General Synod of the Church of England, which is like the national parliament of the Church of England or Anglican Church. And during that period, I served for 5 years as Archbishop's nominee to the United Nations at the Secretariat in New York. I was actually trying to balance all of those things with my full-time work as a teacher, as a mother, a wife, and life in England is such that you have to get all those things done without a maid. So the name of the game, which I think one of the earlier speakers alluded to, Janet, is organization, organization, organization. I also remain a very loyal daughter. I am the eldest of 6 children, and I have had to play my role as the eldest child, so I can connect with the likes of Lisa. I know the responsibility that comes with that. So yes, I am the eldest, but I have to say that all of my siblings are quite accomplished professionals in their own right. I will mention a little bit more of that later in terms of how family actually influences everything. So with Higher Education Resource Services, I want to start actually by acknowledging Dr. Maggie Chigozi, who is one of our loyal supporters and has helped us a lot in terms of, what's happened to my screen? Sorry, bear with me. My screen just flipped a little bit. But I was just trying to recognize Dr. Maggie Chigozi, who's helped us a lot in terms of teaching the women. The primary objective of Higher Education Resource Services is to provide leadership and training for women in higher education. So to ensure that we try and have at least 50% of leadership being women in higher education institutions. Higher Education Resource Services East Africa is modeled on the parent company, which is based in Denver, Colorado. But together with a couple of friends, we decided to set one up, which was a sister organization that is headquartered at Makerere University and serving 7 countries, the East African community countries plus Ethiopia, which asked if they could join. So I come wearing many hats, but the most important and most treasured, I feel, is being a parent. And so I want to share a philosophy that I live by as a parent. And it says, it is not what you live for your children that counts, it is what you live in them. Reason being that as parents, we are very often focused on what shall I for my children to inherit? And we tend to focus more on material wealth. I want to say that helps a lot, of course. But if you want to remind yourself of the biblical, I think it's Luke 15, of the parable of the prodigal son, you know that material wealth can be squandered, but wisdom and values will endure for a long time. So it doesn't matter that we think carefully about what we leave in our children, even if what we leave for them will also help. This text requires me to take a step back to my own parents. What do I feel my parents have left in me and my siblings? Both of my parents, retired teachers. My mom recently passed away. My dad is still there, 92 years old. I still talk to him when I'm in a little bit of a dilemma. But I also want to say to you that even now, when I am thinking through things and I'm not 100% sure which way I want to go, there is a voice in my head, and it's a voice of my dad saying, this really is how you should go about this, or this is how you were brought up. So don't underestimate what you leave in your children. Had it been material wealth, it would probably be gone by now. And so in summing up my role as a parent, I am not going to lecture anybody about do's and don'ts of parenting. You have to figure it out. There are two most important roles in life, and they are the two for which there is no formal training. One of those is being a spouse, and another is being a parent. There is no training for them. You somehow learn on the job. So I see my role as a parent more in terms of training next generation parents. I hope that my children can all become parents at some point. I want also to train them to be talent spotters and nurturers. What I am trying to say here is that I hope that this is what I have done and continue to do as a parent. I also see myself as training responsible citizens of the world. And I am so impressed listening to the group of the youngsters, the youth that are on this panel, because that's exactly what I see. And with my parental hat on, I want to commend all of you because I think you really have done your parents proud. I also see myself as somebody who facilitates family discussions, and it's on any topic. I encourage healthy arguments within the family, but we learn to wait for one person to talk and then the rest can answer if they like. And when I say NA, I mean personal relationships, education, friendships, anything that anybody wants to talk about, whether it's football, whatever it is worth talking about. If one person is thinking it, it's worth talking about. I also encourage fellow parents, as I have tried to do, to celebrate each other. When one of my children achieves something, it is to be celebrated by everyone. And I will always take it upon myself. If they haven't informed each other, I do it. Did you know so-and-so has done this? And we all need to be able to congratulate that person. Looking out for each other, as I have mentioned earlier, I sometimes consider myself a switchboard operator, because if one of my children, remember they are now men and women, but they are my children. And when they have acquired a spouse, again, I take this from my parents, their spouses become my children. That's how I look at them. So I embrace the whole lot. So they look out for each other. whether it's something that's happened to your sister or your brother-in-law, that's for all of us to be able to look into and to be able to help and support. When you hear what I am saying, you probably think my children are spoiled. I would say you couldn't be more wrong. They know where not to go. But I choose to correct, even rebuke them privately. It is not anybody's business what one person has got wrong. So that is what I feel that I try to do as a parent. What I try not to do as a parent, and again, these are things I have seen in my long life of parenting, is to clone myself. I think one of the things we fall into as parents is we want our children to be like us. And I think to myself, well, I'm not perfect. The last thing I want is my children to repeat my faults. In any case, I only have a few gifts. If all my 4 children are like me, that really is cheating the world. I also try not to use my children to prove a point. And I see this happening a lot. A lot of us as parents want our children to be ABC so that we can tell our friends, look at my daughter is this and my son is that. And I also try not to inflict fear and to stifle creativity. I think there's a difference between respect and fear. So the thing that I believe passionately about is to embed values, and the values are enduring, they are lifetime. The values make us who we are. For instance, the values that I believe passionately in and try and embed in my children: respect for all people. It doesn't matter whether you're out in a restaurant eating, you need to treat the waiter and the waitress as you do your boss at work. If you are in an office, your own office, do you ever stop and greet the cleaner? Do you acknowledge the tea girl? All those people matter, and it's really important that you respect everybody. Sharing, really important. Everyone has something to share. Everyone has something to give. Again, we often are short-sighted and we think money. No, if you have money, yes, you can share money, but you might have skills. And I'm so in awe of Andrew and Janet for sharing their skills and trying to help everyone else. Values include integrity, which is thinning away in this day and age, but it's an enduring value that we have got to fight for and claw back. Integrity that comes in terms of being reliable, and reliability comes from little things. Like when you say to somebody, I'm going to be here at 2 p.m., do you mean 2 p.m. or do you mean something else? Are you the kind of guy or girl who makes a pledge and people will say, you know what, if so-and-so said that, you need a plan B? Are you honest? We also have the other values of hard work. That's who we are. Nothing has ever come easy in my life or in my husband's life, and that is exactly what we try and impart in our children. And when it comes to faith matters, my hope and prayer is that I do the modeling of what it means to be a person of faith, but I feel that it is not me that does the conversion of my children. So my simple policy there is I do the modeling, Holy Spirit does the rest. Like I said, skills are acquired, they evolve over time. So we look at things like being polite, which is different from being fearful. Communication, I have mentioned reflexivity, which is about you need to take time out and be your own self-critiquing person. Take time to think about who you really are. Why do you do what you do? And then we have already had about learning. Learning doesn't stop. You have to be a lifelong learner. Even where I am now, I am still learning, and I believe I will learn until I am no more. So I said I come wearing many hats, and looking at your forum, I was mindful of the fact that one of your target groups are teachers. As a person who has been a practicing teacher for 24 years and worked in advisory committees for teachers, what can one do with this pandemic? We have a choice, because this is a big cloud that is hanging over everybody. We have a choice either to feel sorry for ourselves and focus on the cloud, or remind ourselves that under every cloud there's a silver lining. And if we invest in looking for the silver lining, there are things there. Having been brought up by teachers and being a teacher, I always will be a teacher. So what would I do as a teacher? Well, there are things you can look out for. I have summed it up as research, write, publish. There is an acute shortage of learning materials in Uganda. I have often taken groups of tourists from here in UK, and when we cross the River Nile and I tell them that we have crossed from Buganda to Busoga, they ask me the difference from Baganda and Basoga. What do Baganda do that Basoga don't do? And I wish I had a book somewhere that simply describes Ugandan cultures. We have a whole wealth of information there that is undocumented. Maybe teachers can get together and produce something like that. What about storybooks? There is a shortage of storybooks. Why are our children reading fairy tale stories? We need our own storybooks. We have other significant issues, like we have a lot of street children who are, in my view, almost a lost generation. Are there teachers that can get together and find a way of documenting information? How did those children get there? Where do they come from? What are their needs? Can they be supported in a way using a kind of education that is perhaps unconventional? They're unlikely to ever see a classroom. It doesn't mean they can't be educated. What about the fact that Uganda produces an endless raft of sports personalities? Is anyone tracking them and writing their personal stories? I think those could be quite inspirational. And finally, there is a community of learners that are very close to my heart, and that's children with special educational needs. What is happening to a blind and deaf child during this pandemic? Is there anything that teachers can get together and be able to help by way of that? So we've heard a lot about the youth. I'm sure you don't need me. Those of you who are tuned in have heard it from the horse's mouth, as it were. But I can just give some kind of overview based on my experience as teaching youthful learners and raising my own children. And so one of the things that I would commend is that it's not what job, but how you do the job. And again, I commend those that have spoken before me. I love the fact that Andrew and Janet, that you expose your daughter to everything. That's the way to go, because that's where the real education happens. It's not just in the classroom. And one of the previous speakers said, soon the country will be dominated by the youth. I want to say it already is. Uganda has got the highest youthful population in the world, beaten only by East Timor. So Uganda has got over 76% under 30. And so it is pointless for any youth to count on government for support, because you're really one of 30 billion. What do you think the government is going to do for you? So to think in terms of creating developmental, I would add not mob clusters, because there are opportunities everywhere. We in the diaspora are absolutely over the moon rejoicing. Next week, there will be a launch of a new facility on the iWatch, which is going to contain medical facilities, and that's been developed by a youngster, 31-year-old, called Jeffrey Kiwule. The last I checked, that's a Ugandan name. We are also celebrating yesterday, the Mercury Prize in Music was won by Michael Kiwanuka. That is now the top name in United Kingdom in the world of music. So there are so many opportunities. We have already been told about not giving up. If you try one attempt and it fails, it's the idea that failed, it's not you. So dust yourself and go for the next one. And I've already mentioned the fact that every opportunity brings problems. the bigger the problem, such as this pandemic, the more the opportunities. You just need to think. Try and use social media as a developmental platform. There are so many ideas, so many innovations that you can connect with the rest of the world at a tap of a button. But I feel that most of the youth spend most of the time on social media spreading conspiracy theories rather than using it as a developmental tool. There is also this twisted mind, shall I say, that seems to make the assumption that if something is exotic or it's come from somewhere else, then it is necessarily better. And I want to say that's wrong. And so for the social investors in you, I want to commend a few things. I am a passionate advocate for social entrepreneurship. That is one of the subjects I was teaching, but I like to believe that I leave it out too. So I would urge you to adopt what jargon calls triple bottom line model. What it really simply means is that it's not just about financial profit. You need to be mindful of the people and you need to be mindful of the environment. If you don't, your business will be short-lived and these things will come back to bite you. You need to identify and develop Uganda's unique gifts to the world. There are things that only Uganda can offer the world. It is only in Uganda that you find the source of the Nile. Why is it that Egypt benefits from having the Nile Delta, but we have no benefits whatsoever from having the source of the Nile? We have athletes. We have world-class athletes. There is a lot of trade and investment around sports personalities. We're just not thinking enough. There are a lot of crafts that are only Ugandan. How is it that Uganda is now exporting kikoi in a raw form to Ghana? And you should see what Ghanaians are doing with kikoi and then adding value and exporting it. When you are conducting your investments, please, please, please involve local communities in your developmental projects. Teach them skills and teach them community cohesion. It is in your interest to have a decent, stable community because that's where your market is going to be. And I am delighted that we have a lot of mentors today because there is a lot of benefit in mentoring upcoming investors. So I want to bring it all together by summing up my family. Since they're all grown-ups, I've had to seek their permission to be discussing them today. So I have 2 sons and 2 daughters, and they're going to be in order of their ages. So the 2 boys you're looking at here, Andrew's a lawyer. He's also a public speaker, and he's widely involved in all sorts of community activities. Andrew's actually based in Kampala. He's a pro bono lawyer for any organization that I'm involved in. I volunteer him sometimes without his knowledge. So he writes trade documents. He looks over documentations for all the NGOs that I volunteer for to make sure everything is in order. Alan on the right-hand side is a banking and financial consultant currently based in the City of London. But while he worked in New York for 2 years, he developed an interest in providing financial literacy to unemployed youths. He also developed an interest in photography, which he had always had, but hadn't really taken it to that level. But I think spending time on his own, he decided that he would invest in it, in good equipment, and he now makes video clips for startup businesses to try and encourage them so they can step into the world of business. He's also a very passionate social justice activist. So he's been sponsored to stay in the cold wintry nights in London, fundraising for homeless people. And he's been on the streets demonstrating where there's injustice. And these are my two, well, they're not the daughters. I have two daughters. During the pandemic, sitting around thinking about how we can help the world, which is what we've had about before. This also follows a time when my mother passed away in May during the lockdown. I am yet to travel to Uganda to pay tribute, but it was during that time that we felt we need to look at other people in need and see what we can do. And so I can write text quite well, but I'm not good at drawing. And my daughter, Narutaya here, is a fantastic book illustrator, although her actual training is an interior architect. So we decided to write a book that would be a tribute to the people that are serving the United Kingdom during the pandemic. And this book focuses on people working for the National Health Service, the supermarket stores, the first aiders.
We are high at everybody's place and I'm going for some wretched house party.
Okay, that wasn't me. So we are now in the process of completing the second book, which is actually looking over the entire 2020. It's a summary of the year, showing how this year was unique. Now, my youngest daughter, Najemba, who got caught in Uganda just before she traveled back to UK, again, she's a photographer. Really, she was in the middle of her PhD and she could have decided to feel sorry for herself, but on the side, she's a beautician. She does bridal makeup, and she decided while she was in Uganda to identify what she saw as a niche market. She calls them the underrepresented jet black girls, okay? They are the ones she decided to photograph. So she sent some of their photos to a magazine company in California. And when one of them made it to the front cover, she decided her photography was good enough after all. So why beg another magazine to keep releasing one of her photographs? So she decided she would focus on producing her own magazine. And I can very proudly say that her magazine will be launched on Monday this week. It's called Belmont, and it's got a lot of fantastic articles about Uganda and Ugandan culture. So you are, whoever is watching is probably, you can count yourself the first to know about it. If you can't remember, just Google Belmont magazine and you shall find it. So that is a snapshot of how I feel that I have tried to support my children through their professional careers, which are still evolving. And I don't just support them. If they get married, then we add their spouses to the group. And so I just wanted to end with one of my favorite quotes for the youngsters. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And that is one of John Kennedy's famous quotes. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Over to you, Jemima.
Thank you so much, Ms. Muntega. Thank you very, very much. This was a beautiful presentation, very well articulated, love the visuals, but more importantly, what people don't know or what they may have missed is that you're calling in from the UK. So thank you so much, being in a different time zone, in a different place, still making time in your day to join us here today and to share with us your wisdom. We absolutely appreciate it. I know I myself did. As a young person, I'm pretty sure even the parents out there definitely appreciated that and will be hopefully taking your words into consideration as they apply to their relationships with their children, of course, even the youth, into everything that they're doing here on out. Of course, you are our last panelist, but definitely not the least. You kept us engaged. I, for one, could not keep my eyes off the screen. And without further ado, of course, I'd love to thank all the panelists for everything that you've shared with us today. I really love the fact that everyone was very earnest and open. Everyone was candid with us. And, you know, I really couldn't have asked for anything more, definitely, for a panel such as this. I would like to now open the floor up for questions. We do not have too much time for many questions, maybe one or two. And should anybody have any burning questions, of course, please articulate who it's being addressed to, that they can quickly answer it, since we're running out of time, and for that I apologize. But if anybody could maybe raise a hand or mention something in the chat room, if not here on Facebook Live, because we have our Facebook family out there also watching with us. However, if no one has any questions, of course, we can definitely move on to the last remarks, of course, of this segment, but I shall make sure that some of our participants get a chance to speak. I don't know, does anybody have any burning questions? Anybody have a raised hand? Love to see this, you know. I don't know. I think our panelists have done an impeccable job of answering questions that even I hadn't thought of. Of course, really just making sure that you've covered every single corner of this circular earth. I love it. Still waiting for any raised hands, and as I guess really no one has anything for us quite yet. I think one thing I suppose I could definitely ask is, of course, you have been you really said everything for us, Mr. Muntege. But the one thing that I really want to of course ask is, how do you mentioned something, you see things in the positive side of life, and how do you manage to maintain this as a human being? It's not easy times, and like you said, you wear many hats, and this may take away from you as well, but how do you manage to keep a smile on your face and a positive attitude and outlook, refraining from burnout, even as you are working on your passions?
There is no single answer to that. It sounds simplistic, but I see each day as a gift from God. And while one of my sons lived home for a few years while he was commuting to work in London, my greeting to him whenever he got home in the evening was, and I've had this phrase used during this presentation, what value did you add today? And I feel that a day passing, I have to ask myself that question as well. What value have I added to the world today? Otherwise, I am answerable to God for the day I was given, the extra day I was given. If I haven't added value, then I just wasted it, and a day gone will never come back again. So if you like, I apply an element of subtle pressure on myself. But I also feel that I don't know, for some reason, I'm just a very positive person. I look more at, yes, when I get a big problem come my way, of which there have been many, I can assure you, there have been many. Once I get over the initial shock, I know that the only way is up. I only know how to put one foot in front of the other. I don't necessarily think, okay, this is going to crush me. Never. I always think, one day I'll look at this and think, wow, how did I even survive it? So I just rarely focus on the problem. Once I get over the initial shock, I invest all my energy and all my emotion into, God, you allowed this to happen. Now you've got to get me out of it. You got to show me how I'm going to get out of it. That's the simplest way I can put it. It's not always easy. But I feel like that gets me. But also, I think that having open communication and having very clear shared values and objectives, and I did mention the discussions we have as a family. And I remember one time when one of my daughters decided she didn't feel like going to university. And I said, well, that's fine. Can you just give me an outline of what you want to do with your life? Because the only thing we don't do around here is nothing. You're not going to do nothing. Give me an outline of what you want to do with your life. And then she did try this and try that and realized, actually, maybe I'm so much better off coming back and asking for advice and doing the right thing. So open communication. But one thing I really, really thank God for is just having a positive mind. Problems are there, but it's no good focusing on the problem, because then it'll crush you. Okay.
Thank you very much indeed, Naomi. I've just noticed that Jemima seems to have dropped off. Jemima seems to have dropped off. I'm very sure it must have been due to a technical problem.
Possibly.
So as we wait for her, we were supposed to finish at 5 sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Arthur or Jason, would you please let Jemima in? She says she's in the waiting room. She's in the waiting room. I don't know what happened. Jason? Arthur or Tande, can you let her in? Okay, as we wait to get her in, I'd like to invite our chairperson. On behalf of Jemima, I'm stepping in. Jemima is my colleague, and she sent a message and she's saying she's been left out. She's been sent out and she can't come back for some reason. I have the honor on behalf of Jemima and on behalf of ICON to invite our chairperson, Professor Maggie Chigozie, to give us some closing remarks and extend a vote of thanks to the wonderful panelists and the participants. Over to you, Maggie.
Thank you very much, Debbie, and it's been a wonderful panel. Thank you so much. First of all, for just bringing the people I normally work with. Apart from Jason, we haven't met Jason, so I'm happy to have met you today. But I've done, Janet is my young BPW coordinator, and yes, we've done a lot of work with Janet. She's very, very hardworking and very organized and a real leader. So it is quite easy for her to be able to run young BPW quite effectively. And of course, Andrew, we all love you because we love Janet, and we know how much support she gets from you. But I had never heard this story that I heard today, and it's been very interesting. Starting young, both of you, is such a motivation for the young girls of today who are looking for men who have made it. So they are off running after, men who are already married. But you can see Janet and Andrew starting off young. They met early and starting young and building themselves up together. That is such a wonderful story. And I hope we'll be able to disseminate it even further. Jason, I'm so proud of what you do. Congratulations on having started when you're so young. First of all, you're Chigozie, so you are my son. Maybe you didn't know that, but you are my son. I mother a lot of the Fumbe clan. Naomi and hers. Yes, I met Naomi. They asked me, they wanted to train our lecturers at the universities, the various universities, the female lecturers, to build their capacity in that program that she had up there called hers. So proud of them. Now, I don't know what happened this year. I think COVID happened. We haven't done one this year, but certainly over the last 2-3 years, we've been training, and I do my part trying to build entrepreneurship skills among our lecturers and our teachers at university level. And at this time of COVID, they must be really thanking me. I know they are, if they followed my advice and started some business. But we've just heard from Naomi, the teacher, really the teacher, because even here she taught us, the parent, absolutely the parent. We love your 4 children and so proud of them too. And the volunteer, the one who drive or get all the way from the UK, come to Uganda and train East African lecturers, university lecturers, because she wants to, and I'm so proud of her too. And whenever she calls on me, She's already told you. I am the first one to go there, and I take my experts. I go there with the, other people to share with the lecturers, our female lecturers. They're trying to build their capacity to get into bigger positions, become professors, not stay down here. And that's not where our ladies should be. So thank you so much, Naomi. But from all of you, our speakers, and Debbie for organizing this, go for it. It was a big one for me. Anytime, go for it, try. You may fail, yes, but get up and go again, start. For me as an individual, what do I owe my leadership skills to? Very much to parents who loved me to bits. My father loved me to bits. So nobody else in the world can tell me they don't love me, and I would believe them. I expect that what my father did for me, what my mother did for me, what my siblings, and later on my husband, my own children, gave me that confidence that, there's nothing I cannot do. But always knowledge is important. So I'm happy at the people who are here with us today. They're here to learn, and I'm sure I picked a lot of nuggets from our great speakers. So schools, yes, I was lucky to go to Gayaza, nice schools, as did Janet, and now maybe you were with us too. We went to some of the best schools, but retired now and a farmer. And so, yes, Naomi just mentioned it, we actually never stopped working. I never saw anyone not work in my family. So even at my age, I'm still picking up new projects. So careers for you, the young people, importantly, if you're not sure, go ahead and do some course. If you're not sure, I want to comfort you that as you live, as you continue in life, you can always move from one thing to the after that, I'm now a farmer, and really the sky is the limit. There's nothing you can't do. So young people, do the best you can, choose your best career, but it doesn't mean that you're stuck in that career. You can always add and do something else. So Debbie, thank you so much. And Jemima for organizing this so well. And we look forward to hearing what we shall be discussing next month. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maggie. I have Jemima here on the phone because she's not able to reconnect. I don't know what's happening. Jemima, your closing remarks?
Wow, it's been a very interesting one. Clearly, it was a powerful enough panel to fling me out of the Zoom, but I have no complaints. I am only honored that I got to hear from everybody today. Everybody's experience is very unique to, of course, their lives and their settings, but every single person had wisdom to impart on us. And thank you, everybody, for being candid, most especially, being honest about the highs and the lows, the complications, of course, and making us able to relate to you, especially as myself, someone who's young, who can relate to the emotions that Lisa was feeling and yet still be inspired by her self-awareness and drive, to be inspired by Jason and how he broke down everything for himself and the people that he's leading at such a young age, by Janet and Andrew as well, and the way that they're organizing everything and mentoring people and still also putting themselves on a journey to learn, because learning never stops. And of course, Mr. Muntege, being honest enough to share her experience as a parent and telling us, what the experience might seem like or feel like versus what it actually is. I really appreciate every single person for coming out today and sharing with us. Of course, we will have more amazing panelists. Join us next month, of course, for the topic and whatever we'll be discussing next month. We have these every month on the last Friday, and invites will go out accordingly. Hopefully we'll see all of you and more soon. Bring a friend, tell everybody about ICON and what we're all about. Thank you to the panelists as well, but more especially thank you to the audience for making time in your day to come and listen to these panelists and engage with us as well. I apologize, we didn't have much time to ask questions, but still
be involved with ICON, because we have so much more in store for you. There's various ways to stay in touch with ICON, and of course track our panelists. We have social media, we have Twitter, Instagram, and a Facebook page, among many. We have an email, of course, as well. Our social media handle is icon__EF, all lowercase. And we appear on Facebook as ICON Enterprise Foundation. Once again, please do not be strangers, do not be shy, reach out. If you have any recommendations for us, please reach out. Of course, if you'd like to take part in any other way, of course, if not through engaging on the family dialogues, but any other projects that ICON does as well. Once again, do not be a stranger, just reach out. We'll be happy to talk to you. I definitely will. And without further ado, of course, this panel is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you, Jemima. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.